CEO, Mike Hafeman, and Mike is here to share how a relational finance arm can help you reduce costs, boost your sales, and just build a stronger company overall. So thanks for joining us today, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, except for in the great state of Wisconsin, we're getting really some great winter. It's This week has been like -9 at night and maybe a high of 5 during the day. So certainly wish I was in San Diego or somewhere in Florida.
Yeah, the weather here is looking pretty good, but I can only imagine what it's like over there. Um, so, Mike, first of all, let's dive into it. Can you explain our audience and what we mean by a relational finance arm?
I would define that as in today's world, we're kind of a combination of old school and new with the technology. What we thrive on is the partnership between, or the relationship between us and the contractor or dealer, with the goal that both parties work together for both to prosper. It's more of a communication, um, and understanding how each one works. For example, you know, we have a 40 years of background. I've spent time in the field, so I get it. Where how much it costs to first of all gain a lead, how much it takes to actually set that lead, how much that sales rep, may drive 30 minutes, may drive an hour, may show up at the house and no one answers the door. Or if they do answer the door, they go through a 2 hour presentation or an hour and a half presentation, which is excellent, and they um, um, basically sell the people on why they should have this benefit for their house, whether it's a new water system, it's windows, doors, fire alarm, security, whatever it is. These guys are true professionals at what they do. But then at the end of it, they obviously are trying to close that sale down. And obviously the financing part is a critical part of that because it's the point of purchase. Because in most cases, if a representative does the right job, follows what the script is or what follows their training, in most cases the one objection is going to be price. And how do you figure out price? Well, it's about affordability and whether the customer needs to have it in their budget, which a lot of them do. It's presenting them with a option to invest in their house and get the benefits of their product through a payment program, or we call it an investment program. They're making monthly investments into their home or their lives. So we understand that. And the worst thing is that for a rep to go out there and spend all that time and then it's turned down because of questionable credit, or the application wasn't filled out correctly, or that there was not enough income that was stated. So we want to be proactive and work with on an educational basis with the dealer and so forth. So we're trying to help them get that deal bought and get the sale closed. So we understand that, and that's kind of the old school aspect of it, because they can call here and talk to our sales reps or myself or my brothers or our concierge department. So the relationship is very important, because then they turn around if we have some issues with delinquency. They're right there with us, helping us collect on accounts that are not responding to us. That's the relationship. It's both parties win and both parties profit.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And all that time invested into the relationship from the sales rep, and then all of a sudden they get to the end of this process where just the financing is not there. And you could talk about it could be hours. And again, really depends on what you're selling. And also the cost of the lead can be quite significant, as you mentioned. And then just to get all the way there where someone may be denied financing is just a position that you don't want to be in if you invested all that time. So you really do
Correct.
need flexible financing.
Yeah, and
Uh,
it's expensive. It's expensive for the dealer too. I mean, investing in that lead and investing into the salesperson as well.
And how can a company like Time Investment help other companies to build a stronger business?
Well, number one, for us to know how they do business, that's one thing. We've spent a lot of time in the field over the years. I mean, understanding what they're doing and what their lead sources. I mean, we're in front of, I mean, thousands of dealers in different industries around the country. We understand and we get information from them about what's the best lead source. And that's the big key. I mean, you can hire salespeople, you can train them, but if they have nowhere to go, it's kind of useless. So the biggest fight in sales in general is number one, obtaining leads. Number two, sending your reps on qualified leads and try to do whatever you can to pre-qualify that lead so that when they go into that house, there is a high probability they're in front of somebody that number one has interest and number two has the means to pay for it. So that's a big key. But I believe it's really the communication on our end that when someone's in a house, um, they have the ability to call here and saying, "Hey, how can I make this deal work?" Because the way our system is set up is that they either have an instant approval or it's pending or it's denied. The pending is the gray area, and that might be because they put wrong information or was an incomplete application, and that's in most cases it's incomplete application, or there's not enough information on the application to make it a decision on. And most of it is looking at income, saying, okay, do these people have the discretionary income to make that payment? In most cases, it's important to try to get as much income as possible. A co-signer, if it's a husband and wife, whatever it is trying to get more people in the application so that we can make a decision on income, which is the debt to income ratio, looking at, what is the disposable income for them to make that payment. That's the big key. That's almost that's almost more important than credit score to some extent, because someone could have a really high credit score, but they don't have the disposable income to cover that payment. So information on that is important. I would, most of our dealers are on our digital platform, and some of them are still using paper or other means of setting that up. The key behind the digital platform is it requires all these fields to be filled out before they can submit it. So if they fill it out, they try to submit it, it won't submit if they're missing a social security number, if the date's not correct, or something. So what that does is it prevents the salesman. So I'll give you an example. Salesman goes to the house, gets excited. Customer says, "Yeah, I'm all on board. I agree with you." Fills out the paperwork and submits it to us, and we're saying we can't buy this paper because there's a date missing. Maybe there's a third business date. Maybe it's the date of the contract, or there's a signature missing, or there's something else that's missing on the app. Well, guess what they have to do? They got to get in their car and drive all the way back out to that house and saying, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, we kind of missed a few things." So, number one, that's their time, that's their gas. They could be running another sales call at that time. And not to mention, anytime you get back into a house with a customer, there's always the probability of buyer's remorse. And a customer, if they come back out of this and, well, we kind of think we're just thinking about it, we may not move ahead with this anyways. So you're running into a lot of risks there. It's better to get trained and using our online system that can prevent all that and save the dealer, save the salesperson a lot of time, money, and frustration by using that digital system. And it filters right into our system, into our automated underwriting. So yeah, we can save a lot there, but there's still going to be contracts that are pending because there might be some discrepancy in the income or something like that. So they can call us. We want to help them make that work.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and especially, like you mentioned, the last thing you wanna do is show up to someone's doorstep and say, "Hey, we forgot to ask you about this. Do you have this?" And trying to continue the conversation with them in a way that they didn't expect. And you always wanna have proper expectations from the beginning, like you mentioned, and that way, people know what they need to provide, you know what you need to get, and working with them through, again, like you said, good communication to see what those things are, all the different variables to ensure that everything comes out for the person who wants to take out that loan and and they get themselves best served.
Yeah. What's interesting is that it depends on the age of the rep. So, sometimes technology scares people. Um, Trust me, if I can actually fill out an application correctly, I'm still having trouble. My iPhone, I know how to send an email, I know how to send a text, but I'm still learning about parts of that. Is still foreign to me. And if I can fill out that application, really anybody can fill out that application. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I know you mentioned also credit. And does time investment only focus on A plus credit, or does time investment do they buy all credit to your loans?
Yes, obviously your A credit has a higher probability of acceptance. I mean, it's pretty much across any type of the financial world. But we buy down to 625 or less, depending on everybody's got different circumstances. Might be medical related, um, might have been a hardship or whatever. We look at all that, and we're definitely buying loans below 700, in the 680s, the 650s. I mean, typically a near prime loan is like 650 credit score and above to 700, and then 700 and above is considered prime. Anything below 650 is considered subprime, and those are the ones you really need to look at. We want to accept it, but what would really be helpful there is we get as much information on those people as possible: jobs, co-signers, income, potentially, proof of income, proof of property ownership, things that can help us make a good decision on the contract. And really, if you look at it, if you're a rep in the house, that application, what you're doing with that application is you're telling a story to the finance company. And what you're trying to do with that application is sell the finance company that this is a good paying customer. So the more information they get, the better. I mean, even in the lines they talk about references like nearest relative, um, somebody in there, that gives the finance company case that they cannot contact with the customer to, obviously collect an account. There's other avenues for us to call a parent, call somebody referencing, hey, do you know where so and so is, or whatever. It's skip tracing that would be helpful. So filling out those applications fully, especially below 700, is extremely advantageous and helps us out. And also using ACH as well, the ability to pull payments from the customer's account is definitely in, especially those categories, is really helpful.
Yeah, it sounds like it does make a pretty big difference to your dealers, right?
Yes. Oh yeah, because I mean, you're still spending money on that lead. You definitely want that lead to turn into a sale, and it's still the salesperson. You want to make sure that they're getting commissions. I mean, they went through the whole presentation, but that does come back to hopefully the sales organization is doing as best they can to pre-qualify those leads. Where are you going to go? And there's multiple ways to pre-qualify a lead, but as long as they're pre-qualifying, they have a higher probability of getting approved anyways.
That makes sense. And I know time investment has a concierge service team available that's really just like a phone call away, and they can help dealers pretty much instantly. And the question I have for you is, why do you prioritize something like that?
We came up with that concept several years ago because we looked at the industry itself and what it's kind of moving towards, and we felt that there was a need for specific organizations that are trying to grow their business, that they have ability to call in and talk to somebody, whether they're in the house or afterwards, if they have to begin to talk to somebody saying, asking the question, why was this turned on, or what can we do to make this deal work? Maybe it's a larger down payment, maybe it's a smaller system, maybe it's getting a co-signer, trying to get other income. There's multiple ways to try to make that deal work. And the concierge is also there to help train, educate the dealer, educate the salesperson. We've got a very well trained and experienced staff there that are all pretty well educated, and it's more of a sales support team than it is an operations team. We really wanted to be sales support, that they're enthusiastic about helping the dealer with any type of question. And if they don't know the answer, they're going to get the answer as soon as possible and get back with them. So the concierge department, it's like when you walk into a hotel. Let's say I fly to San Diego, and I really don't know San Diego, although I've been there several times. But let's say I never knew anything about it. You go to the hotel, and there's a concierge behind the thing, and you're going, okay, where are the best restaurants? Or what are you suggesting for entertainment? What are different things? Or where do you find this in the hotel? How do I use my television? Whatever. You have someone there that you can actually talk to that is there to help you and your people out. That's the big key behind that. And by the way, it's working super successfully because we're getting a ton of referrals in from people that want to experience that.
That's amazing, and, it's such a simple concept of treating people like people, and,
Yes.
it take you so far. And I imagine as time investment CEO that it's part of your responsibilities to always keep up what's happening to the marketplace and different trends. And I'm curious to when it comes to the relationship between dealers and finance partners, do you see any trends in the marketplace?
Yes. So we've kind of, with the advent of the fintech companies, which is our very large companies, and they've been in business for several years, it became a kind of a pricing warfare per se as their margins started decreasing. And so you saw the margins and the pricing was like, it's being pretty tight. So the only way that they could really continue that is they had to really shut off any type of personal communications, and that had shut down their staffs and so forth, and pretty much go all technology. So in other words, you fill out an application, you submit it, it says yes or no. I mean, yes, we'll accept this, or no, it's a turn down. There's no calling in and saying, hey, why was this turned down, so forth. They can't afford it. It's too expensive. Same thing with us. I mean, for us, it's kind of interesting is that a lot of the dealers, they want that Walmart pricing, but they want the Nordstrom service, or whatever the high end people want. You can't have it both ways. It's the same thing they're dealing with. Is you're selling a high quality water system or windows compared to what people can buy at Home Depot. Same concept. Theirs cost more. Well, I'm not saying we're super expensive, but we're in the ballpark. But in order to, they have to think more about getting that sale bought than trying to get the lowest price in the market. It's the same concept as Walmart. But that's what we've been seeing in the marketplace. So we wanted to be kind of a quasi fintech. So we do have a auto decisioning tool that does auto decision a good portion of the contracts come and gives them a pretty rapid response. But we also want the old school where in that gray area that we can call it and help them hopefully get a decision where it's an approval. And we do it every day. I mean, in several $1 million a month and approved contracts that would not be approved if we are only using the auto decisioning. Yeah, it would be great. We could basically use the auto decisioning and lay off about 8 underwriters and a whole bunch of people and save a lot of money on overhead. But then we're just competing with everybody else. So it really depends. I mean, our niche is really dealers that are interested in growing. The dealers are interested in that relationship, and they understand that relationship has to go both ways. Both parties have to profit, but we can help people grow. But yeah, I mean, it does come at a price too.
Yeah, and finances are not always black and white, and you do have to look at individuals as individuals and what they're going
Mhm.
through. And as much as, like you said, you want to just auto generate responses, you can't do that. You know, people are still people at the end of the day, and they all have unique situations, and it just takes a little bit more time and patience to hear what those situations are to ensure that they get the best deal with you guys at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And it makes a lot of sense. And I know many of the new dealers that come to Time Investment transition from other finance companies out there. What are you hearing from these dealers as to their overall business needs?
I mean, the big thing is they want, they want that communication to try to, work with us to get more deals approved. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't work. But we must be making some headway because we are, like I said, we're getting a ton of referrals from around. And right now, with the way the economy is, with inflation, rising interest rates, and so forth, it's become a little bit more challenging for everybody, in the marketplace. So um, I believe that we're doing everything we can to help the dealer succeed. And yeah, when they transition from somebody else, it's always a transition. It's the onboarding. They're used to doing something some way, and then all of a sudden they're coming with us, and it may be a little bit different way. That's what concierge does. It helps. Concierge jumps on and helps them methodically and easily transition to how we do business, and that makes it easier. It's if they got a question about our online system, well, this is different than what we had before. Well, let us go through. We have a training system they can go on, and the concierge will walk them right through and say, "This is how easy it is," and then we practice on that and so forth. I mean, how we pay. I mean, all I hear out there is that we're easier to deal with than everybody else, and that we pay
Hmm.
faster than everybody else. Um, we're trying to grow. We're taking on people selectively because we want to make sure we have the right customers we're working with. But that's the difference. Is that before they're just assuming that I'm going to send in a contract and it's either going to be turned down or it's going to be purchased. And if it's turned down, they're going to send it to somebody else and somebody else and somebody else, and they may send it to multiple finance companies to see who's going to buy the darn thing. Everybody's got to be kind of careful with that because you don't want too many inquiries on that consumer's credit report, because if they see multiple finance companies with inquiries, it does affect their credit score to some degree. But you have to be kind of careful of that. We try to overcome that, and hopefully we can make them make a better decision with us.
Yeah, and there's so much that goes into just customer service and ensuring people have a great relationship with you and making sure that they ultimately get the outcome that they're looking for. And when you're doing something that affects so many different people's lives and really changes their business and helps grow their business, you want something that's more individualized. Otherwise, you're going to go through some hardships and you're not going to feel like you are building your foundation for your business on something very solid. So
Yes.
I feel like the concierge service makes a lot of sense, especially if you're looking for a more solid foundation for growing businesses. I mean, that's
Yep.
one and one.
Yeah, and we do have some customization that if they're looking at saying, hey, this is the way we typically market our products, whatever the program is, we do customize that to the dealer. It's not just 100%. It's kind of standard, but we try to customize it because you know I mean, let's face it, they have like multiple programs out there, from promotional programs to 120 months, 144 months, 180 months. I mean, it can be confusing. And really, in reference to the sales rep, it's easy. It's better to keep it simple, saying you're going to offer one or two, maybe three programs at the most. And the key is that on those promotional part of it, they have to be very careful because those promotional programs can become expensive. So you really don't want to offer that unless the customer asks. You want to stick with a standardized program. You want to sell on a payment that fits their budget, and you want to work with that, because most people, there's two, like I mentioned this before, there's two types of buyers. There's a cash buyer and there's a payment buyer, and it's very clear. And if you offer a standard program and somebody asks, well, do you have a 6 month same as cash or whatever, well, then you're probably dealing with a cash buyer. And in that case, it's better for you to try to get a check right up front than having to pay for an interest free option or deferral. So You have to be able to identify that, but most buyers are payment buyers, and you want to get them on that payment program like right away. First payment within
Mhm.
45 days. That's the key.
Yeah, understanding your customers and their expectations is so important. And I just want to thank you so much for being here with us, Mike, and sharing
Yeah,
your knowledge with the audience. And of course, thank you to everybody who joined us here today. We did cover a lot. So if you feel like you might have missed anything, feel free to go ahead and rewatch this video. It will be available. And if you have any questions, of course, make sure to go ahead and comment below, and we'll be sure to get back to you. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where these videos get posted. And that way you can get notified whenever we come out with new videos as well. And you can learn everything you need to know about consumer financing and growing your business using consumer financing. And of course, all the great things that Time Investment is up to. And there we have it. Thank you again,
thanks,
Mike.
Josh.